Well, now let's get talking now. Nigeria is trailing South Africa and other countries in terms of consumer lending, as only 10% of its loans are for consumer lending. But this is lower than 45% in South Africa, 33% in Brazil, 18% in Indonesia. However, in Nigeria, back home, the signing of the Credit Reporting Act 2017 by the then acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, well, it's significantly deepening consumer lending in Nigeria. But how significant is this, heralded by the significant growth in the change in consumer credit landscape across the country? Well, Lipalater is Africa's leading buy now and pay later firm with strong platform powered by a proprietary credit model that enables retailers to sell their products to customers on credit at the point of sales, with customers paying for their purchases in affordable monthly installments. A multinational digital lending market space which currently runs in Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, and Rwanda, and looking to launch in markets such as Ghana and Tanzania. Well, let's talk to Mr. Eric Mully. He's the founder and chief executive officer of Lipalater about developments in the credit space. He's live in the studio. Thank you so much, Eric. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Yes, really laudable enterprise here. But, coming home, do you intend to verify data, of consumers that you hope to benefit from this? Because I would say that is it foolproof that people will want to really take advantage of this initiative?
Thank you, Tolu, once again. Happy to be here. And I would say, firstly, that verifying data is our daily bread and butter. It is our thing that we do every single transaction that comes through. And the whole purpose of us verifying data is for us to be able to allocate credit to people who ordinarily would not qualify, right? So while we do understand that there is a significant risk in everything that we are doing, there also is a significant opportunity. So we look at alternative data sources, we explore multiple options as we're looking at this, all in a bid to make it as safe and secure as possible. So we are looking at it, and we are verifying data in multiple sources and multiple ways and multiple algorithms to achieve our ended goal. Of course, being very cautious that not everything is as rosy as we would like it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll follow up with the fact that it's a challenging market, the African market space and all of that. Now, what are you doing differently to stand out in this market?
You see, the first challenge that we have on the continent is the awareness that this actually exists.
True.
Right? So we need, first of all, to educate the consumer that lending is no longer the lending that we used to know it as. Right? That's a very important part of what we're building here. That's the first thing. The next thing that we're doing very differently is also educating the merchants, because this is a very big opportunity for merchants and retailers as a whole, right? We stand to increase revenue for merchants north of 40%. Yeah, that's a massive for retailers as well. And then secondly, we're in a time and age where speed is very important, right? We need to be able to deliver our service and value to both the consumers and merchants in very good speed, in a timely fashion, and accurate fashion. So that's those are some of the major things that we're doing differently. So educating, helping our merchants and retail and consumers understand what it is that we're actually doing. And then thirdly is offering the actual service in a very fast and efficient manner.
Beautiful stuff. Big initiative again, like I said. It started in Nigeria and Kenya, right? Am I correct?
Right.
Now, I would say, how was it really received when you came up? Or what prompted it, and how was it received?
You see, one of the things with a product like ours is that there is a massive need, yeah? And sometimes the need is not necessarily seen until it's brought, right? So some of the key things, some of the key challenges we had in the beginning, as I mentioned, was the sensitization. Like there's a lot of people who were skeptical that this was actually true. Yeah. So that was one of the bigger challenges. But thereafter, we overcame that barrier and we tumbled it down, right? And now where we stand is the uptake has been phenomenal. We have a lot of merchants, flowing in. A lot of consumers, hundreds of thousands of consumers flowing in as well. And the uptake, I would say, has been great in multiple markets as well. Yeah.
Great stuff. Let me now ask you, I'm a business person, I like talking figures. In terms of figures, what would be the total worth of Lipalater's investment?
Yeah, I mean, and we like to keep some of our figures internal, but We've been going quite well from what started as a business with several thousands of dollars. We're now looking at deploying north of $50 million into the ecosystem as well. So, and that will continue to grow quite fast as well as uptake continues to increase and as we continue to open up more markets, more merchants, and more consumers.
But I always like to ask that question. What are the challenges in making this, actualizing your dreams, your aims in this business?
Regulation is one. Regulation, and as you know, doing business in Africa is very difficult because every country has different regulations that you have to follow. So, for example, getting started in each market, there is a lot of lead time that will take time for you to actually even set up. And even when you do, there's still a lot of things that may pop up. So regulation is one, yeah. And we're inspired by some of the countries that we operate in the regulatory framework that the CBN and the CBK and all these other government bodies are trying to put into place so companies like us can scale faster. But that is a very important part, regulation. And of course, in our business, there's the element of an honest consumer that we need to always identify and verify, right? That we know we are always striving to get better at doing that. So I would say those are the two biggest challenges in the business, and they will continue to be there, and and continuously, hopefully work to get them better.
Are you guys in the space? Are you coming together to address some of these challenges? Meeting up with these regulators to see to you and know that this is another space to create jobs and all of that. Are they thinking along that line?
It appears so, and we hope that it continues to be so, because we've seen a lot of progress in the near future, in the recent past rather, with how the government regulators are looking at companies like ourselves, and there's still room for a lot to be done. We are engaging, and we hope to continue to do the same.
Now, your property credit scoring and machine learning enables consumers to sign up, of course, and get credit limits almost instantly. I read through this, but I want to ask you this question. How really does this work?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So at Lipalater, what happens is a consumer can sign up to get a credit limit at any point of contact with us or any point of contact with merchants that we work with. So a customer can go to lipalater.ng or download the app, sign up, get a credit limit instantly. Once you have this credit limit, it allows you to make multiple purchases at multiple of our retail partners. So it's a simple process of you signing up, providing us with your data. We on the back end will analyze and score your credit worthiness. And from then on, you're free to shop at any one of our merchants. In Nigeria alone, we have north of about 100 merchants. That number should get up to about 1,000 very soon. So that's how it works. It's a very straightforward process. It takes a couple of seconds for you to shop and pay monthly.
Some will want to ask, I'm sure viewers watching will want to ask, is this another venue to keep people in debt? What do you think about that?
I think it's the exact opposite. It's you see, we're at the time of in the world where we need to manage our cash flows better, and it's also the time in our generation where consumers want to live with dignity, right? So that's what Lipalater allows people to do: manage your cash flows. You don't need to pay for everything upfront, and also enhance your standards of living and live with dignity. So it's not a debt trap. It's actually the exact opposite. It's allowing people to pay small and manage them.
So paying later seems to be better than paying outrightly.
pay later is always better. It is always better. And just to add to that, the 60% of the consumer today would prefer to pay later. So pay later is always better.
Mm-hmm. Before we wrap up, I'll still got to take you again to issue of data, data management, because it's something that is very key across the continent. So you saying that you leave data, you sleep data, you do everything, but any challenge along that axis to, straightening up and getting the right data at a particular time? Have you ever had any challenge doing that?
Absolutely. There's always room for more data. There is always room. So in Nigeria, we have open banking, where we'll be lucky to have that, and that's a lot better than several other countries.
Yes.
But there's always room for us to get more data. and also accurate data is another thing, right? So we've had challenges and we continue to have them, but we've also developed and made some improvements
To overcome them.
To overcome them, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. You're talking about trading across Africa, and what came to my head was the AFCFTA. That's also another platform where that's the African Continental Free Trade Area, where we are supposed to strengthen relations among African continents. You're from Kenya, I'm a Nigerian, but do you agree that we need to strengthen trade, businesses, all of this across the continent? We can do better if we strengthen this trade. We are about 1.5 billion people.
Yeah.
Do you think if we strengthen trade amongst ourselves, we could do better?
I think it is one of the most essential things as a continent that we can achieve in our lifetime, because we as a continent are a lot more powerful together than we are apart. Trading across Africa should be the biggest agenda, right? We have a lot of barriers now, like, as I said, regulation, currency problems, things like that. But I think that could be one of the most important tasks that we could accomplish in our generation. Yeah.
I tell you, because it's a big one, honestly. I always look at that market. I was at the AFCFTA trading in South Africa sometime last year, the International Trade Fair, and you will see what Africans came up with, and all of this will need people like you to come in the buying and pay later when we want to get all of this goods. But how many countries are you operating from at the moment, and what's your outlook? Despite the challenges across the globe.
Yeah. So we're operating in Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and we're now exploring South Africa, Tanzania, and Ghana.
Wow.
So what we do is we're looking at building a Pan-African business. As we've just discussed, the opportunity is Pan-African opportunity, and us exploring that is very critical to us. So we're looking at all African markets that have successful retail, that have a successful tech infrastructure. Currently in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa are leading in that part. But we're looking and hoping that we can explore further as we keep going. So our goal is to build a Pan-African business, and who's to say that African business cannot be exported to the rest of the world, right? But charity begins at home.
Right?
Yeah.
So what do you expect from Nigerians?
From Nigerians, Nigeria is always one of the most exciting markets.
The big market, exactly. 200 million people.
Exactly. It's always one of the most exciting markets on the continent. So we're expecting nothing less than a strong uptick from consumers and merchants. Nothing less than that, and we also expect a lot of pressure to come from the consumers, because I know it's a very demanding culture. So, and we're ready to solve these problems.
On a lighter note, I was looking at the name Lipalater.
Yeah.
You want to say something about that?
It means pay later. That's what it means. And we're hoping that it can be adopted.
I was thinking, interesting conversation. I've been speaking to CEO Lipalater, that's Eric Mooley there, giving us insight into what's playing out in that market space. Very interesting conversation. We'll keep a tab on you, either you're here or in Kenya, so that we'll follow up activities in this very interesting market. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate this.